Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another tutorial. So today I bring to you this wonderful kitchen plaque. So I say that it's a kitchen plaque because it has kitchen written on it and it has cutlery on it. So most of the products used in this video are by Little Birdie Crafts with the exception of the hardware and a little bit of black acrylic paint. I will leave links for all of their products in the description below in case if you would like to have a look. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about how I found those products and what I think about them. So first up I start with this MDF black and white chalk paint. So this is chalk paint in the color Snow. So I'm just looking at the paint pot right now and it says it's Home Decor Collection Matte Chalk Acrylic Paint. So that's exactly how it feels. So compared to the usual white chalk paint that I use, which is Rust-Oleum or Wilko's furniture chalk paint, it has a much more acrylic feel to it. So it's a lot more flowy and it's much less chalky. However, when it's dry, it dries to a very matte finish. So I really like that. With regards to coverage, it is much more like acrylic paints rather than chalk paint. So I personally find that furniture chalk paints tend to be very pigmented and you tend to need less coats of it. However, with acrylic paints I usually find that you usually need at least 2-3 coats of paint, which was exactly the case with these ones. So I ended up applying 2 coats of this white paint, both to the front and the back of the plaque. And then I go ahead and decoupage it. So I ended up going for this wonderful kitchen design. I really liked it. It was one of my favorites out of the ones that I ended up getting. And I think it's perfect for kitchen decor, obviously because it has cutlery and it says kitchen on it. But it also has flowers and it's very vintagey. So it's just screaming my name. So I measured out how much paper I needed just so that it's easier for me to work with, and I cut the excess off. And then I sprayed paper with a little bit of water because it helps the gluing process. So when you apply water on paper, it expands a little bit, therefore minimizing creasing and bubbles further on when you go to apply it onto the surface, and it also helps the glue soak in a lot better. Then I dab off the excess water and apply decoupage glue to my base. So because this piece of paper was quite big, it was easier for me to just apply it through the files. If you're going to do this, just make sure that you glue it on the right side down, and then just using a plastic card I go over the plastic folder and get all of the air bubbles out. Then I take the plastic file off and apply another layer of decoupage glue. I really like this decoupage glue. It went on really nicely. I must admit it did take quite a while for it to dry. It is a bit thinner than Mod Podge, which again is quite good. So if you're working with napkins, for example, you probably won't even need to thin it out. So this is what it's looking like when dry. So it's very matte. I would say it's much more matte than matte Mod Podge. So that's a bonus. And so then I take a little bit of sandpaper and sand off the edges. Next I used this paint in Passionate Plum and a sponge dabber, and I pick up a little bit of paint and I dabbed it on the edges to create like this framing around my plaque. And then I use a smaller brush to get in all of the places that I didn't get with the sponge, and a larger brush on the back. On the back you'll see in the next clip that it looks quite dark, and that's because I ended up applying 3 coats of it. In hindsight, because I ended up actually going with the crackle effect on the back as well, I probably could have skipped it, but that kind of came as an afterthought, so there you go. So next I couldn't help myself to try out this one-step crackle because I've never tried it and I was just really curious about it. So I take this large brush and I apply it all over. It did take quite a while to dry, so I actually ended up leaving it overnight. So this is what it's looking the next morning. So then I take the same white paint and using a sponge dabber, I dab it on all over the back of the plaque. And as you will see in just a second, it literally starts cracking immediately. It was so fascinating to watch. It's like magic. I literally just took this sponge dabber and I dab it on everywhere and it literally cracked right there. So it's crazy. And I think I might be slowly becoming a one-step crackle lover. So yeah, and then I also dabbed it on the sides. Okay, so once the paint on the back of my plaque was fully dry, take this lovely stencil, a natural bristle brush and a little bit of the same plum and white paints that we used earlier, and I just kind of go ahead and add a little bit of extra floral details. Now this of course is a little bit of an extra step that could have been easily skipped, but because I just received all of these amazing new goodies, I kind of want to play with all of them at the same time. So as you can see, I can't control myself. So I just ended up adding a little bit of of these extra flowers here and there. And then I realized that what I needed is a little bit of black paint, and so unfortunately the two set of paints that I got from Little Birdie Crafts did not have a black or a grey in them, so I ended up having to use my own black acrylic paint. So I basically just take the little bit on the same natural bristle brush and kind of just dry brush it over the edges, and I think that that's what kind of brought it all together, because there's a lot of these kind of pinkish and whitish tones in the picture itself. There was just kind of cancelling each other out. So by just adding a little bit of that darker tone from the cutlery there on the picture, I think that's what brought it all together. And I just kind of kept going and fading in the corners a little bit here and there, and I think that in the end it actually turned out really nice, and without that black it would have looked a lot more bland. And then I also took the same stencil and just added a little bit of black here and there over the same flowers, and I think that once again it just kind of all came together. And so with all of that being done, I went ahead and I varnished my piece. So I ended up applying 2 coats of this glossy varnish, again by Little Birdie Crafts, on both the front and the back. And then when I went to varnish the front of the plaque, I actually grabbed the wrong tube and poured on a little bit of Crackle Medium over the bottom part of the plaque. And although I wiped it off, it actually ended up reacting with the varnish. You will see in the little video clip where I kind of show it off at the end that there is a little bit of this 2-step crackle going on the bottom of the plaque, and there's none on the top. So the only thing that could have done it is the fact that I applied Crackle Medium before I applied varnish, and even though I thought I cleaned it all off, clearly it still reacted. So there you go, we live and we learn. And then the last thing left to do was to apply hardware, and so I took these hooks. I will link these hooks below as well for you. I bought these on eBay. The actual hooks that I used to hang on the wall, I actually kept them from a piece that I found in a charity shop, but I believe you should be able to find these kind of things in your local shops, in like the DIY section where you can find like picture hanging kits and stuff like that. So there you go, this is what it looks like. I am really happy with the result. I've actually already hung it up in my kitchen, and at the moment it just holds my tea towels, but I already have an idea of what I'm gonna do next and how I'm gonna add to it. So you saw that bit of crackle there, and yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. So that the only thing that could have done it is the Crackle Medium that I accidentally applied over it, because there's none at the top, there's none on the back, so that's the only thing that could have done it. But overall, I'm really happy with this sort of test piece that I did, and I hope that you enjoyed it too. I hope that you learned something new, and maybe it gives you some ideas for what you could make. Check out Little Birdie Craft if you're interested in getting any of these products or anything like that. If you have any suggestions for what you would like me to do next, then please do let me know in the comments down below as well. Of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to leave them in the comments as well. I'll try to respond as quickly as I can. If you would like to connect with me on any of my social media, there's going to be links in the description below as well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!